everybody, Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another expanded deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I'm bringing you one that I'm actually really excited about, and that is one centered around Mega Manectric EX and Genesect EX from Plasma Blast. Before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, maybe subscribe. It helps us out a lot and lets us do more for you guys. And as for the question of the day, I was kind of considering what type of question I would go with, and I decided just another generic one, and that is, what is your favorite ability in the Pokemon TCG? I mean, I don't mean Pokebody or Pokepower or whatever that is. That will be saved for another episode, but what is your favorite ability? I mean, the Genesect that I'm showing right now has the Red Signal ability, which is basically a Lysander, and if you ask me, my favorite ability, I mean, I would have to think about it for a second, but probably it would be the Rush-In or Stand-In by Zoroark from, I think it was Breakthrough, and then Keldeo EX. I mean, a lot is centered around Keldeo EX from me. In case you haven't noticed, I mean, I love Keldeo. I love that card. I love everything about it. So, I mean, that would have to be my favorite ability. Just kind of a cop-out, but so sorry about that. But please leave what your favorite ability is in the TCG in the comment section below, because I would love to hear what you guys think. Anyway, on to the deck. Like I said, it's centered around Mega Manectric EX and Genesect. I mean, they kind of complement each other well, because Mega Manectric is good enough to be a deck on its own, but it does have that nasty little fighting weakness in the, well, bottom left corner that gives it trouble against decks like Primal Groudon and stuff like that. That is where Genesect comes in handy with its grass typing and its Megalo Cannon and even G-Booster. I mean, Genesect in itself is a decent card. Megalo Cannon for 3 energy does 120, well, 100 to the active and 20 to a benched, and then Red Signal is just an amazing ability. But I mean, it's kind of a meh card, except for when you have G-Booster on it, then it becomes one of the best cards overall, because G-Booster does 200, it ignores any effects on the opposing Pokemon, and I mean, you have to discard too, but that's actually really cheap compared to some of the other attacks. I mean, you're doing 200 damage, ignoring all other effects on the defending Pokemon, and all you're doing is discarding 2 energy, which that's not Mega Manectric, which Mega Manectric can get back immediately. So these two have great synergy. And I mean, also, as for the Pokemon, I'm running 2 Shaman just because Shaman is Shaman, and Shaman is great, and 1 Virizion as a way of also accelerating energy onto Genesect. And also, I mean, Verdant Wind is a great ability. Each of your Pokemon that has any grass energy attached to it cannot be affected by special conditions, and in a metagame where Hypnotoxic Laser is pretty much everywhere, Virizion can pretty much shut down that strategy almost entirely. And then I'm running a 4-3 line of Manectric and Mega Manectric just to make sure that I have a Manectric out for whenever I need a Mega Manectric. And also, Manectric is a decent attacker in its own with Overrun and Assault Laser. I mean, it's not an overwhelming attacker, but it is a cheap attacker that hits for some pretty solid damage in the right scenario. So, I mean, very basic line of Pokemon. You might notice that I'm not running a Hoopa EX at all, and you might be thinking, well, why wouldn't you run a Hoopa EX? Every single Pokemon you're running in this entire deck is an EX, so Hoopa would just allow you to draw 3 just for an Ultra Ball. Well, that is because Hoopa has that really nasty 2 retreat cost, and you might be thinking, oh, that's no big deal, just run like Switch and Escape Rope or like an AZ or something like that. Well, I mean, while I kind of agree, a lot of this deck is centered around having 1 retreat cost so you can abuse Sky Arrow Bridge for that free retreat, and having Hoopa means that you have to attach an energy and then discard it in order to be able to retreat it, because I'm not running AZ, Switch, or Escape Rope. And I mean, while I could maybe Tech 1, I don't know, I think that this deck relies too much on all of its resources, and really it doesn't need Hoopa in all of the testing that I've done. I mean, if you want to try this deck for yourself, I encourage you to make that decision for yourself about Hoopa, but I have found that it really just can get stuck in the active, and then you have to waste a turn attaching to it and then manually retreating because you don't run Switch or Escape Rope or AZ. And if you do want to run those cards in this deck, then you really lose out on a lot of consistency and other cards that help this deck an absolute ton. So I mean, you can make the decision for yourself. I just decided that Hoopa is not worth a spot in this deck, and I've never really had a problem getting the basic Pokemon out, or not just the basic, but Mega Manectrics too when I needed it. So didn't have a problem with it, so I just decided to forego it. As for the items, we're running 2 Battle Compressor to get, I don't know, like a supporter in the discard pile that you needed, get some energy in there so that way you can use Turbo Bolt to its maximum effectiveness. Running 2 Max Potion because, I mean, while Mega Manectric is one of the weaker Mega Pokemon, it still has 200 HP. So it's a cheap attacker for 2 energy, can go for Turbo Bolt, has free retreat, so you get 2 Mega Manectrics out, one gets heavily damaged, you just switch into the other Mega Manectric, Max Potion off all of that damage, and you're basically putting your opponent right where they were before, because then you Turbo Bolt, get those energy back onto the Mega Manectrics, and you basically just eliminated an entire turn, or turns that your opponent went for, to pile up that damage on Mega Manectric. We are running 1 Mega Turbo to, I don't know, if you need to Max Potion up a Mega Manectric, then you can attach an energy and Mega Turbo also to just get that 1 turn heal and back to dealing with the Mega Turbo. So, well, the Turbo Bolt, not the Mega Turbo. Mega Turbo Bolt. That'd be kind of a cool attack, not gonna lie. But anyway, Mega Turbo, I rarely have used it at all, but when I have used it, it's actually come in really, really handy. Running 1 Super Rod just to get some stuff back into the deck. I mean, you can't always rely on Turbo Bolt to get all the energy out of your discard pile, so if you found you overextended yourself a little too much, or you got a Genesect knocked out that had 3 energy onto it, you can just Super Rod those back into your deck, or Mega Manectrics, or whatever else you need. Super Rod's just a great card for that. 1 Tool Retriever. This is actually the first time I've ever run this card in a deck, and man, I think this is a fantastic card. Well, in this deck in particular, I don't think it's splashable in any deck, but you can choose up to 2 Pokemon Tool cards attached to your Pokemon and put them in your hand. Well, I mean, you would think, well, why is that great? Because you can just kind of play it back down. Well, 1 Spirit Link can turn into 2 Mega Manectrics. You play the Spirit Link down, evolve into a Mega Manectric, pick it right back up with the Tool Retriever, play it back down, and evolve. So, I mean, that's great for that. It's also good for, like, if you have a Mega Manectric, you can pick up a Spirit Link, put a Muscle Band on it, or Genesect. If you have a Muscle Band on the Genesect, you can pick it back up and put the G-Booster. It really just gives you a lot more freedom to use your tools in any way you want, so you aren't really scarce for tools when you need them. 4 Trainer's Mail to help with consistency, 4 Ultra Ball to get everything out, 4 VS Seeker to reuse all of our supporters, and then our supporters are pretty standard. I mean, you have the Chorus for late game when both of you and your opponent have pretty full benches to maximize the number of cards you draw, 1 Hex Maniac to shut down those stupid Safeguard Pokemon, and also the Latias. I mean, that is Latias EX. I mean, that's why I put this in the deck. Latias was such a freaking pain to deal with. So I threw a Hex Maniac in there because you can't always rely on G-Booster. In fact, that was the game that I decided to put Hex Maniac in there because G-Booster was my very, very last prize, and I honestly just couldn't do anything at all. My opponent only had 2 Latias EXs out, and both my Genesect and my Virizion had abilities, so they couldn't attack. Mega Manectric, for whatever reason, I think it was just discarded or prized, or I was in a position where I couldn't use them, so I was just in a bad position overall. So, I mean, that's why Hex Maniac is in there. 1 Lysander, because Lysander is incredible, and also you have the red signal, so you don't need 2. 2 N to just get good draw power in the beginning of the game and put your opponent at a kind of in a bad position late game. 3 Juniper to get the guaranteed draw, 1 Shadow Triad to get back your G-Booster or Plasma Energy or whatever you want, 1 Skyla to search out that stupid G-Booster, 2 Sky Arrow Bridge for the free retreat. You really only need it for 1 turn, so I mean that's why there's only 2 in there. 1 G-Booster, because I mean that's the A-Spec, it makes Genesect as good as it is. 3 Manectric Spirit Links, because there's only 3 Mega Manectric. 1 Muscle Band for increased damage output. 2 Plasma Energy, they can't be gotten back with Turbo Bolt, so you might as well just use them for Genesect with the Lysander. And then 5/5 of Grass and Electric, just because that's what all our Pokemon run on. And wow, I have rambled for way too long. That's all I'm going to say. Let's just go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against Zio, who, oh boy, this looks like a Night March Vespiquen deck, which should be, I want to say fun to play, but it should be a interesting game at the very least. So, you know what, I'm going to look on the bright side. This is going to be a very competitive and awesome game, and oh, thank the Lord I don't start with a Shaman. That would be really, really bad, but you know what, it's not the best starting hand in the world, but it's not the worst. I really would prefer to have another Pokemon that I can put on the bench so that I don't just get benched out turn 1 by Night March. And Yep, 100% Night March. What I'm going to go ahead and do is just put an energy onto the Manectric, and honestly, I can't play anything else down. I could Shaman for one, but I think I'm just going to Hex Maniac to kind of limit what my opponent is able to do. Hopefully, he will play down a bunch of bench Pokemon, not be able to knock out my Manectric, and I can just go from there. But we do see the DCE. I mean, he has to get 9 Pokemon, or 9 Night Marchers into the discard pile to knock me out, which is difficult, but not unheard of. I mean, to be honest, if he has 3 Battle Compressor and a Dimension Valley, that's all he needs to knock me out. Okay, well, never mind. He only needs 8 Night Marchers in the discard pile at this point, so that's a bit worrisome, but okay. That's not actually bad. My opponent plays Joltik, wasn't able to do anything, but what I can do is, I think, will I be able to... You know what, this is going to look kind of dumb, but I need to Shaman for as many cards as possible. I'm going to play the Spirit Link down, go ahead and Tool Retriever to get it back and play it down again. I mean, that's just what I had to do to make sure that I got another card, because, I mean, who knows, that one card could be the difference between winning and losing, and okay, I get something that I can definitely work with, because while I am giving my opponent a fresh hand, and it looks like he didn't have anything, I'm not in a horrible position, because what I can actually do is just get rid of a DCE and a Fighting Fury Belt from my opponent. I mean, once again, I have a Shaman, which is okay-ish, which I really don't want to have to put it active. Oh, there's a Genesect. But, you know what, it's not the absolute end of the world. And I even have a Genesect plus Plasma Energy, so I can grab whatever he puts on the bench if he wants to. So, I mean, I'm actually in a pretty decent position. I mean, that's obviously assuming that my opponent doesn't get a bunch of Night Marchers and knock me out. Because if he manages to knock out this Manectric this turn, then I'm screwed. I mean, there's no two ways about it. If he can get 9 Night Marchers, I'm screwed. Please do not get heads on this roller skates. Of course. Oh well. I mean, I'm thinking I'm still in an okay position, because it's still a little bit of a stretch, but it's less of a stretch than I thought it would be. And, oh man, if he brings out a Shaman, then... Or a Mew. I don't know, I guess that's okay. With that Mew, I will want to target down the Joltik, though. Oh, there's a Jirachi, so if I can get a Mega Manectric, then I am definitely targeting that sucker down. But now I can play the Sky Arrow to counter his Dimension Valley, which is great. And he'll be able to hit for some good damage, I think. But I'm not sure it'll be... I don't know. I think I'll still be in a good position regardless. I do want to get some Grass Energy in the discard pile, though. That way I can actually use Genesect's attack instead of just going for whatever. And, who runs Crushing Hammer in a Night March deck? I mean, that's really annoying. And okay, good. You don't get heads. You don't deserve to get heads if you're running Crushing Hammer in like a Night March Vespiquen deck. Lord knows you run enough resources in that deck for consistency that you have no room to run Crushing Hammer in there. So, I don't know. I'm really not a fan of people that just throw that type of card in a deck like that. I mean, that's just not... It doesn't really make sense given the deck that you're going with. I mean, a Zero Sick I can completely understand, because it helps you potentially get around the whatchamacallit, the Seismitoad matchup. But if you're just running a straight Night March Vespiquen deck, I mean, first off, it's Night March Vespiquen, not just Night March. So you're already very you're very limited to the resources that you have available and the number of slots that you have for those resources. But if you're just splashing Crushing Hammer in a deck because you can, then I do not agree with that. I actually get an incredible hand off of that Juniper. Well, actually, first, the top deck was amazing. But I can just go ahead and get rid of... Do I want to get rid of 3 Grass Energy? Yeah, let's just go ahead and do it. And I draw a Mega Manectric, which is absolutely phenomenal. So I not only can knock out this Jirachi, but I can completely power up my Genesect as well. So let's just see. Let's go ahead and grab the Manectric just to have something else on the bench just in case. And then go for a Turbo Bolt to knock out the Jirachi. And yeah, I'm just going to power up the Genesect at this point. Might as well. I could power up the Manectric just to have a backup, a backup Manectric. But, oh, sweet. That's an amazing top deck because, well, not top deck, prize draw, because if my opponent does counter with the Dimension Valley like he does right there, I can go ahead and counter that again with Sky Arrow, play the Manectric Spearlink onto my Manectric on the bench, and then Juniper away for a fresh hand of 7, and apparently my opponent didn't get anything he needed or wanted, so he is just going to scoop, and we are going to win that first game. So, I mean, that's a little bit showing you what this deck can do, but I do not feel that that is enough at all. So, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and try to find another one with this deck. Alrighty, we have found another against, boy, it's Thunder Red and it's a fire deck. This could be a problem, but I mean, it's not as bad as running like a straight Verizian Genesect deck. I mean, it's especially more of a problem if we go second, but I don't know. I don't like the matchup because our main attacker won't be, well, Genesect won't be very useful because it will more than likely get knocked out in one hit due to weakness, but because we have the Mega Manectric, see, this is why I love this deck. The cards just make up for each other's weaknesses, like if one isn't doing well, the other can pick up the slack and stuff like that. So that's, I mean, I really, really do like this deck. I really enjoy playing it, and I realize that it's not the cheapest deck to play, but it's still relatively cheap. I mean, I say relatively because there's only what is that, 2 Shaman in this deck as opposed to the normal like 3 or 4 that you're seeing in a ton of the top decks that are running around. And okay, my opponent doesn't even really start that well, but what I can do is attach the Lightning Energy to the Manectric, play the Battle Compressor, see if I can get rid of a couple energy, probably a Juniper in case I grab a VS Seeker, and then I think I'll get rid of 2 Grass Energy. I could have gotten rid of another Lightning Energy, but I really didn't see the need for it. And then I think, you know what? I mean, I hate to give my opponent a new hand, and that's kind of one of the drawbacks of N, but I need to just go ahead and do this. And actually, that's not that horrible of a hand. I can just go ahead and play the Manectric Spirit Link there and Overrun for like 20 damage on the Fennekin, and then probably just 20 damage on the Houndoom. I mean, I could put it on the Lugia, but I don't think it would do anything just because of the pressure ability. I mean, if Lugia was active, then it would be super effective, which would do some damage, but I think pressure would just mitigate it completely. So even though it doesn't put Houndoom in any KO ranges, I'm just going to go ahead and put the damage there. And okay, my opponent is able to get another Fennekin up. I mean, I'm not too worried about this matchup, mostly because I see a Lugia that he has started to power up. And while it will do some good damage to my Mega Manectric or Manectric, I do have the Max Potion, which I love to deal with. And I can even put some energy onto the Manectric on the bench to where I can do the whole Max Potion, switch out, Turbo Bolt, and ooh, I can actually do something pretty cheeky that I talked about in the deck previews. I can go ahead and Ultra Ball for the Mega Manectric. Go ahead and play that down there to evolve, and then I can play the Tool Retriever to go ahead and grab that Manectric Spirit Link, play it on the Manectric on the bench, and boom, 1 Spirit Link will more than likely turn into 2 Mega Manectrics, which is kind of awesome. I mean, I draw the other Manectric Spirit Link, so it didn't work out exactly as I planned, but you know what, I'm just going to roll with it. And okay, do I want the Mega Turbo or the Ultra Ball? I think I'm just going to go for the Ultra Ball at this point, just because I think that's the better play. I could have Mega Turboed so I could put the Grass Energy on the active Mega Manectric and then put the Lightning Energy on the bench, but I don't know. I kind of just want another Mega Manectric for next turn. I mean, I might be being a little too aggressive, and, well, I guess not really aggressive, but just more impatient. But I think I will be okay. I kind of want to save. I mean, I could have played the Manectric Spirit Link down, but I kind of want to save that for, I mean, a Muscle Band or something like that to potentially put the Houndoom in range of another. But what I can do, Trainer's Mail, I don't know. Thinking back, I probably should have taken the Mega Turbo, but I think just based on my opponent's deck, I don't think. Well, I'm obviously not playing somebody with a super, super competitive deck. But I can still just go ahead and set up as best I can. I might... do I want another Manectric? You know what? Screw it. Let's see how many Mega Manectrics we can get. I mean, Genesect, like I said, will not be the most useful in this match. I can go ahead and play the energy onto the Mega Manectric. Maybe eventually play the Manectric Spirit Link there, and then go for a Turbo Bolt, knock out the Fennekin, and See, I think I should have gone for a Genesect, but I don't think it's the end of the world because I can just attach the energy to the Mega Manectric on the bench, take a prize, and just be in a pretty good position. Well, actually, not just a pretty good position, in a really, really good position because I have one Mega Manectric powered up. I have another basically one turn away from being powered up on the bench. I have another Manectric with a Spirit Link, so I'm in a very good position overall, and I even have a draw supporter. Granted, that is an N, which will only get me 5 cards, but 5 cards is a lot better than 2 cards, and especially, I think I've thinned out my deck enough to where I'll be okay, but I don't know. My opponent is going for a Teammates right now. I'm not sure what he's gonna go for. What could he... I don't know. I mean, Teammates is just a great card to use. It's like, well, Pokemon just got knocked out. Might as well use Teammates. So, well, I mean, apparently my opponent's just taking their sweet time with it. I mean, I get thinking out your plays, but yeah, I'm just... Oh, there we go. Alrighty. And I can stop playing with the mouse now. But, okay, we do see the... That was probably what he got. He probably got a Braixen, and then... Was it a Braixen and a Fire Energy or another Lugia? Okay, Intensifying Burn will do a whole bunch of damage right now, but I even top deck a Juniper. That is great. And maybe a Max Potion? Nah. But what I can do right here is just go ahead and play the Genesect onto the bench, maybe? I will be able to knock out this Lugia this turn and potentially get a Juniper for next turn, but you know what? Screw it. I think let's just go ahead and power up the Genesect, because why not? Turbo Bolt, I won't be able to use it to its maximum effectiveness, but at least I will knock out the Lugia and then take another prize. So Mega Manectric is heavily damaged, but I don't see a way that my opponent can potentially knock it out next turn unless they have something in. Okay, there is a Lightning Energy. I might be able to do that little cheeky Max Potion trick, because especially because I do have a Skyla in the discard pile, and okay, never mind, my Manectric's going to get knocked out, and I'm in a pretty scary position at this point. Oh boy, I have a Delphox that is fully powered up and not damaged at all, staring me down, ready to attack. My main attacker is going to go down, and oh boy. Okay, so this is starting to get scary. A little bit scary, but what I can do is promote this Manectric, go ahead and... I don't know. I mean, I'm obviously going to play the Lightning Energy onto the Mega Manectric, just so I can get an attack off this turn, but there's the Max Potion, 1 turn too late. But what I think I'm going to go ahead and do is, well, hopefully grab the Muscle Band. Maybe. There we go. Got the Muscle Band, play that onto the Genesect if I can, if it's going to let me, maybe, possibly. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Go ahead and power up the Mega Manectric there. I think... what do I want to go for? Chorus isn't worth it. Do I want a Juniper? Or do I want a Skyla for something? I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. You know what? I think I'm just going to Skyla. Go ahead and do that to grab, I think, an Ultra Ball to grab another Mega Manectric to have that powered up. I do have the G-Booster, so that is great, but what I can do is just go ahead and grab that Ultra Ball, get rid of probably the Shadow Triad and the Virizion. Probably could have gotten rid of the Sky Arrow, but grab the last Mega Manectric, play that down there so I have a backup attacker ready for next turn. And then while I won't be able to knock it out, I will be able to get off a heck of a lot of damage on the Delphox and power up a Mega Manectric in the background. So, I mean, I'm still in a somewhat scary position, but I think my opponent is a much scarier one because he would need 8 Fire Energy, I think, on Delphox to knock out my Mega Manectric, which is just kind of not possible. I mean, even an attachment and a Blacksmith would only get 3 energy. We do see the Fighting Fury Belt onto the Delphox, which tells me that my opponent is probably not the most experienced. I mean, that could have been an accident for sure, but Fighting Fury Belt, I made the mistake when it first came out, but I learned very quickly that Fighting Fury Belt only works on basic Pokemon, which, I mean, that could definitely work in this deck as well, but I don't know. I just kind of like the Muscle Band because it does more damage, so might as well. My opponent is going to switch out. Huh. Into his Litleo? I don't know. I think I would have gone for damage on the Mega Manectric, but I mean, does he just... I don't know. I'm confused. I'm actually really confused by that play. I guess maybe to keep the Mystical Fire, but that was your best attacker. So, I don't know. I'm a little bit perplexed by that play. I mean, I'm not complaining because I get a free turn out of it. But what I can't even do, top deck the Plasma Energy, is go ahead and drag that sucker right back into Turbo Bolt it. And then just Juniper away my hand, probably. Or Colress. You know what? Let's do Colress so I don't deck out, because I want to make sure that I am able to take all of my prizes before decking out, because that would be very, very sad if I managed to deck out in a position like this. But kind of forgot that I played the Muscle Band onto the Genesect. That was a bit of an oversight by me. But what I can do right now is just go ahead and Turbo Bolt. Don't get any energy. Not a big deal. And just take another prize with my Mega Manectric. So, okay. I mean, I have 4 turns left to go ahead and take all of the knockouts I need, which I definitely think I can. Playing the Muscle Band onto the Genesect was a bit of an oversight on my part, but you know what? I think we're in a good enough position to where it doesn't matter all that much. What I can do... Okay, we see the Team Flare Grunt. That's cool. So that delays my plan a little bit of trying to power up the Genesect on the bench manually, but actually, no, it really doesn't, because I could just free retreat into my Manectric on the bench, attack with that, put the Electric Energy back on the active Mega Manectric, or back on the Mega Manectric that is active, or I could just Mega Turbo to say, hey, you know that turn that you just used? Haha, it was wasted. And then throw the energy onto my Genesect eventually, at some point. And Trainer's Mail just to see what my last 3 cards are. Nothing worth it, so I think... yeah, I'm just going to retreat into my Genesect to put the Reshiram in range of a Turbo Bolt. Which I think is a smart play, because if he manages to OHKO the Genesect with a Reshiram, I want it to be in a position where I can go ahead and OHKO it with a Manectric, as opposed to having to worry about it building up damage with Outrage and doing a ton to a Mega Manectric, to where after my opponent knocks out this Genesect, he will be in a good enough position to take a knockout on another Mega Manectric and win him the game. So that is the plan at this point. Oh, I can just snipe the Entei on the bench with a Megalo Cannon, put him in range of a Turbo Bolt and a... Well, I mean, he's already in range of a Megalo Cannon anyway. But I think I'm in a just fine position right now. No matter what my opponent does, even 0-6, that's... Oh, gets rid of the Muscle Band. Ooh, that's cheeky, because now I can't knock out the active Reshiram. I'm going to go ahead and play the G-Booster, throw another energy on just cuz, and then go with that play that I mentioned last turn of putting the energy, or the damage onto the Entei to put it in range of Turbo Bolt. And, oh, yeah, that's why he got rid of my Muscle Band. That's right. Oops. Well, looks like Genesect might go down now, but at least the Reshiram is in range of a Turbo Bolt. So, I mean, that might have been a stupid play on my part, forgetting about the damage and the... Oops. Didn't mean to right-click off the screen. To forget about the damage from the Muscle Band, or the damage reduction, because I don't have a Muscle Band, but I think I'm still just fine, because that Entei will get knocked out. I mean, my opponent can Skyla for like a Professor's Letter or something. But I can take a knockout on the Entei. Well, after I take the knockout on the Reshiram, I can knock out the Entei, the Lugia, the Braixen. Houndoom can't do enough damage to me to avoid being knocked out. And my opponent just Escape Ropes. That's... Well, I mean, at least that puts Genesect out of harm's way, I guess. But I'm interested to see what my opponent promotes, because... If I was him, I would promote the Lugia, because even though that has high retreat cost, it's the only thing that won't get knocked out by a Megalo Cannon next turn. Because I have the knockout with Megalo Cannon bench damage next turn on the Reshiram anyway, especially because he is switching it out with the Escape Rope. At least I'm assuming he's going to play the Escape Rope. He hasn't played it yet, but we will see. So, Wondering what my opponent is going to do. My opponent likes to take plenty of time on his turns, so I understand it. He doesn't even play it. So, alright, I have the game. I'm just going to go ahead and red signal in that Entei. I could have gone for the Braixen, but you know what? I'm going for style points here. Knocking out fire types, go for the Megalo Cannon, knock out the Entei and the Reshiram, take the final 2 prizes, and win the game with Genesect against a fire deck. So, I mean, like I said, style points right at the end. And oh, there's another Manectric and Genesect. I was wondering where those guys were. Finally decided to join the party, just a little too late, but anyway, that was a really, really fun game. I was able to overcome the type advantage, or the type disadvantage a little bit, but that's mostly because Mega Manectric did not have a type disadvantage, and honestly, I love this deck. These 2 cards just play off each other so well, and I encourage you guys all to try it. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Leave your answer to the question of the day in the comment section below, and like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And this is Styx, signing out. Why not? See you guys.